Welcome back to the plot. I'm just putting the end panels back in the polytunnel because it's quite a breezy day today, and when the wind whips through it really bashes the loofah plant and the tomatoes. So just keeping that there, and we've just had our week of like really hot weather, and the next week it's not going to be quite so warm. So how are we doing in here? Let's have a quick look around and see how our tomatoes are doing. So come on down through here. So down here is where we've got all our tomatoes, and as you can see, we've got loads of tomatoes here growing. We've got absolutely tons of tomatoes here growing, and everything's got tomatoes on it, including sort of down, if I just point you down here, all of these down here. Now none of them, they're all green at the moment. Now the first tomato that we think we're going to get is going to be these sun gold ones down here. So this one down here is nearly ripe. Now there is a reason for that. To explain why that is that on this side of the polytunnel we've got all our big beefsteak tomatoes and our larger tomatoes, and on this side we've put all our cherry tomatoes. And tomatoes, the way that they grow is they'll grow green until they reach the size that they're actually going to grow to. And it's not until they're actually the right size and they've grown to the full size of the tomato that then they start maturing, and these sugars will start being produced in there and they start to go red. So consequently, although we've got absolutely tons of tomatoes growing down at this side, they're all still smaller than they should be. All the Crimson Crush ones are normal sized tomatoes, so it should be about this big, but they're still cherry sized tomato size. Whereas the ones on this side are starting to grow to the sun gold ones are cherry tomatoes, so they're nearly at the full, they're all nearly grown to the full size that they're going to grow, and now they're getting into that maturing process. But not quite there at red tomato stage, but I think that sun gold one will be ready sometime this week. Also on the pepper plants, we've got quite a lot of peppers growing. Look at this one. Look at that, little peppers growing on there. She's all good, so they're doing well. And also some of the, I'll pull this one out. This is a Rokita one. Look at the peppers on there. So they're the hot and spicy peppers. And we also have some rainbow peppers down in here, which are like really spicy. So when they get to mature and they get some colour on them, we'll have a little taste test. And then you can watch me go as redder than I am now in the hot weather and see how spicy they are. So one thing that I do know is ready for harvesting is down here the cucumbers. So let's go down there and have a look. So down here in the cucumbers, it is going absolutely bonkers. A lot of these have actually reached the full height of the actual polytunnel in here. And again, what we have here is we have a lot of the larger cucumbers on this side. So there's a cucumber here. This one here. Let me bring you a bit closer. So we've got this one here, which is maturing quite nicely, but that's actually going to grow into a longer cucumber. The one we're going to harvest today is down here. This is a piccolo one, down on this plant, and there we go. That's our first cucumber. And there are plenty more on the way here. I can see this. As I say, it's quite big ones there. There's a couple more developing on this plant. This one, which is a Louisiana F1 variety, is a little bit later than the others. Some of these other ones, like the this one here, is the Fem Spot one, which we've always had really good cucumbers off in the past. It's just starting to develop. But apart from that, it's all looking great. So I think from this week onwards, we're going to be pretty okay for cucumbers going forward, because they're pretty much going to be at least one or two to pick, I think, going forward from now on. So beautiful cucumber, splendid. Down at the blueberries, we are starting to get a few here that are just ready to be picked. So we'll leave them a day or two just to finish maturing. But look at those blueberries, lovely. Blackberries are doing all right, and let me go and show you the raspberries. So here in the raspberries, we've had pickings. We've been picking these every couple of days. Nice yellow ones here. These are gorgeous. So I did harvest most of these yesterday, but I can see there's still loads more, and we'll come down perhaps tomorrow because we've got a load of raspberries at home, which I'll be making a crumble with later, some raspberries, and also the loganberries over there are doing really well. So been harvesting these as we go along. As I say, there's a few more pickings to be had today, but we normally sort of say harvest them every other day, and then we've got a nice supply, so we don't got too many hanging around at home. Nothing like fresh fruit off the vine. Over here we have our loganberries, which are really nice. They've got a little bit like blackberries, but they've got a little bit of a tart sharpness to them. So they're all doing all okay. And again, been harvesting them every couple of days, and they're going to go in our crumble later. And this is how the rest of the plot's looking down there. So the beans coming up, got all the beetroot over there that's coming up, lettuce that's got a bit out of control there, now that all needs coming out. These are our lettuce heads that we put in the other day, and they're all coming on nicely. And we've probably got a courgette down there to pick as well. But we're going back onto the top plot now. We've had loads of strawberries, and all the strawberries now are pretty much done and dusted. Now I'm not sure what variety they are, so I'm not sure whether they're going to fruit. Some varieties of strawberries fruit twice, some don't at all. So down here is our, take this clip off, these are the carrots and radishes that we planted the other day, and I see all the radishes are coming up, and I can see that underneath there, just down in here, there's all the carrots doing it as well. So they're all coming up, and in the other beds around the area, we've planted up some more carrots and the kale that was in the greenhouse. So I'll just go down to show that. So we filled this bed up here with some more carrots, and here we've got some kale in there, and in the far bed, which we just still need to cover, I still need to put a cover on that, we put our Sweden turnips. But today we are harvesting also some of our cauliflower. So let's get this open, and let's this one here, and then let's get this one out. So this is going to free up a bit of space for the other stuff that's in here. I'm just going to lift that out, put that cover back on. Now in here also we've got some cabbages and some broccoli, but let's have a look at this. Let's get the leaves off of this. And this is a all year round variety. And there we go, nice cauliflower. A little bit of dirt on it, but I'll be fine. We've got those leaves in the composter and get that chopped off, and that'll be going in the cauliflower cheese later. As I say, I harvested a couple more of these yesterday, so we've got 3 little heads of cauliflower to go in with the cauliflower cheese. Splendid. So cucumber, cauliflower, loads of fruit that we've harvested during the week, and these are all our onions, which we've now finished the second part of the prep. We've taken off the top part of them, and they're just all drying in there. So we've got a load of onions there. We've got the shallots as well, and all the red onions are in the shed. So that's all done quite nicely, because I think it's going to rain a bit this coming week. In fact, it looks like it's going to rain any minute now. So let's get on with the next job. The next job on today's agenda, before it rains too much, is to sort out this grapevine. Now, as you can see, we've got like 5 strands of grapevine here, and now it's opportunity for us to actually trim all this down. Now, this has produced an absolutely ton of flowers, as you can see here. This particular stem here has got at least 2 lots of flowers on it, and this one has got 3. So So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through and take off all but one set of flowers from each stem, because the grapevine won't be able to support. And in actual fact, what we will do is some of these smaller ones is we'll take off as well, because the plant just can't cope with all that fruit trying to go onto it. So our aim here is to actually thin this down so we have at least one set of flowers about every foot of the grapevine. If we've got more than that, we're going to take out the whole branch, because otherwise it will be just too much, and all we'll end up with is lots and lots of tiny grapes and no decent sized grapes. So we've got one set there, one set there. There's a low down here, so we'll take off some of these ones. As I say, what we're aiming for really is to have a set of fruit every about foot along the actual vine. So we're going to carry on doing that, and we're going to thin this out so we've only got a certain number of actually sets of flowers and grapes along each side, so that we get a good harvest from this. So that's that all nicely thinned out. We'll probably have to do it again once the fruits start developing a bit. Take off some of the end parts of the flowers as well, just to make sure all the nutrients are going into the few sets of grapes that we want to try and get, and hopefully we'll get some good grapes off this year. But now it's just starting to rain, so let's get in the polytunnel. So it's just starting to rain out there now, and we're going to come in and just do a little bit of maintenance on the tomato plants while it's raining and we can't get outside. So I'm just going to go through and take off some of the lower leaves on these tomato plants. So it's important just to keep, when you've got tomato plants just densely packed like this, it's just important to keep good maintenance on them. And what I tend to do is I tend to take off all the lower leaves below what is the first full set of tomatoes, full first truss of tomatoes. That just, as you can see, these are all getting old and whiffled anyway. What you might notice this week, if you've got tomatoes that are in this really hot weather, is that the tomato leaves start to curl on the edges. Now it can be multiple things that cause the tomato leaves to curl. Could be that they're overwatered, could be that they're underwatered, could be they need some feed, or various other different things. But one of the things not to get too panicky about is if it's really hot weather and it's really sunny and everything else, and you start to see the leaves curl. Normally that's just the tomato's defense mechanism. Like you, it will seek a little bit of shade if it gets too hot and too warm, and by curling its leaf in, it restricts the area that the sun's falling on, and it just keeps the leaf a little bit cooler. The best way to check that is just to come down when it's actually not sunny, or have a look at the top leaves of the plant. If the top leaves of the plant are fine and they're not curling, but the lower leaves are curling, normally it's just a natural response by the plant to actually get rid of some of that heat. So just going to move our way along, and we're going to just take out, so you can see here this is like sort of quite congested down here. We've got some tomatoes in here, so I'm just going to try and get into the bottom of here without knocking the tomatoes too much, and take off some of these lower leaves. It just helps with the airflow up through the plant, and also in the if we get some really damp weather, it does stop the actual any moisture and that building up inside the plant and inside the growth of the plant. The last thing you want is the moisture to be inside of the plant. So Now, that's a bit weird, isn't it? This is growing out with tomatoes. Still quite a big stalk on there, but what I think I will do is I'll take that off there because I don't want to. So what will actually happen in a lot of these tomato plants is when they get too long, if these trusses get too long, it's a good idea sometimes to snip off the end. I know that means you're getting slightly less tomatoes off that truss, but it just means it just concentrate the energy into that particular truss of the actual and gets good quality tomatoes. Because look at those, they are beautiful, aren't they? Right, I'm going to carry on with that, and hopefully the rain will stop, and I will catch up with you next time round when hopefully we'll be picking some tomatoes and some more cucumbers. So that's a quick update and roundup of where everything is on our plot. We keep picking at the tenderette broccoli, which is doing really well, and some of the other broccoli heads will be probably ready in the next week or two. So we'll be having those as well. So that's where we're at this time. What we might do is, if the rain stops in a minute, is I will go and have a look. I want to go and have a look at one of those buckets of Charlotte potatoes. So if the weather holds, we'll go and do that before I say goodbye. So I'm going to do a bit of a potato reveal, or as I'm expecting it to be, a potato not reveal, because this was the potatoes that we got caught by the frost. And you see they're pathetically small, but they're all starting to go over. And I'm not sure whether it's the frost that's done them, or potentially maybe the bark chippings that we put on top had something in them that it didn't quite like. But either way, they're not great. So we're not expecting anything in here. Not really expecting any potatoes in here, but I'm going to tip it out and see what is in there, if anything, or just soil. As I say, it looks quite damp from the recent weather we've been having. Now, whoa. That one's rotten. Whoa, look at that. There's actually potatoes in there. That is really surprising. I must admit, I am really surprised to actually find any potatoes in there. There's a few other ones here that are a bit mushy. As I say, I think, wow, this is a surprise. I wasn't expecting to find, based on the top growth, I wasn't expecting to find anything in here at all. So the fact that we've got a few potatoes out of here is a bonus. So let's get on and get the rest of this emptied out. Bearing in mind these are Charlotte potatoes, so they're like supposed to be that small. So I must admit, I am quite pleasantly surprised that we actually have got potatoes. Not as many as we'd normally expect, but some are better than none. Right, so bearing in mind that I wasn't expecting any potatoes out of those buckets at all, so after 3 buckets of Charlotte potatoes and one a jazzy one, so it's not the greatest harvest from a potato bucket, but bearing in mind that there are like sort of first earlies, there's a good lot of potatoes there, so absolutely surprised actually. I mean, they had such poor growth on the top of them. I was expecting to not find anything called potatoes about this sort of size in there, so to find these in there, well chuffed. So never give up. So it gives me some hope for the other buckets that we might actually have not a massive crop, but at least a crop in those buckets when we come to empty them. Anyway, I'm going to get these off home, get them washed off, and get on with doing my fruit crumble and my cauliflower cheese. And I'll show you a picture of that a little bit later on. But from the plot, cheerio.